Welcome back. Well, let's get into the taxation nitty-gritties now. We've got MS Money, partner GST at Deloitte, and Saurabh Agarwal, tax partner at EY. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining in. Mr. Money, it's a landmark day, right? And we've been tracking and tracing the history and the evolution of the GST framework with you for so many years now. I want to straight away get to the biggest debate. And if you could hear the previous speakers, I think you'd already know that. The question is, what happens to goods or services that have been moved to either the 5% category or the exempt category, and they don't have the benefit of input tax credit? Insurance is obviously one such big space, but how should we look at it, and how should we interpret this, Mr. Money?
Okay, so let me first speak on insurance, because insurance is very different from all the other products and services which have been moved. As far as insurance is concerned, what we need to understand is that the overall input tax credits for an organization are across all policies, and there are only few expenses which may be in respect of specific policies. So here what has been exempted are typically health cover and term cover. Now, health cover and term cover may have a few expenses which are directly attributable to it, on which obviously there is no question of an input tax credit. But there would be a large amount of other expenses which would be common for the entire organization. And the debate is in respect of the proportion of those common expenses that pertain to the health policies and the term covers. When we do that calculation and when we do that math, and it may not be identical for each insurance company, the proportion of their health policies and the proportion of their term cover policies sold may be different. It may be different in respect of health cover sold by general insurance companies and health cover sold by life insurance companies. When they do that math, and I think it is a little too early for them to do the math because this has happened only last night, they will come across a proportion of credits that they may not be entitled to in respect of the common credits. Now, bear in mind, till now, we are not aware of anything in the 80-page press release that was issued yesterday, which says that there needs to be a reversal mechanism for the common credit, but that is expected in any case, to be there. Now, the proportion of credits that they need to reverse, once we have that number, is when this debate can actually have some numbers attributed to it. Is it going to be 2%? Is it going to be 5%? Is it going to be 8%? That number will need to be worked out. And as I said before, it will not be a uniform number. It will vary across the company depending on their product portfolio. But the larger issue is now all the insurance companies will now need to rework their products and go back to IRDA to get an approval of new products, because some of the old products cannot be sold after 22nd of September. So when they do that pricing, as was mentioned by one of the speakers in your earlier session, when they go back to IRDA, it's quite possible that the insurance companies bundle more services or more features in the existing products at the same price. And there may be some products where they pass on a larger part of the reduction to the customers. Right?
But net, to try and keep it simple, Mr. Money, in the current form, let's talk about a standalone health insurer. In the current form, because for a standalone health insurer, all the policies now go into exempt category. So will there be a hit or not? Because as of now, there is no input tax credit. There would be some cost that insurer would have borne to provide that service, on that premium. So will, say, a standalone health insurer in this case be entitled to anything, or what happens to the cost? Or will it just have to be either borne by the insurer or the distributor or eventually passed on?
You're bang on. So for a standalone health insurer, there will be a cost attributed to the exemption. There will be a cost attributed to the exemption. But when that cost is attributed to the exemption, the view is that, one, they might tweak the products and add some more features to the product. The second aspect which we have to bear in mind is, if a person is buying a policy which is costing, which has a premium of 1 lakh, and that product cost today to the customer is 1,18,000, because in real sense, the customer does not care 18,000 is GST or 10,000 is GST. The customer says, I'm paying 1,18,000 premium.
Yeah.
Now, this customer, if he even reduces the premium, and if the premium, let's say, comes down to 1,05,000, what's going to happen to the 13,000? Two things could happen. One, the product becomes richer by adding more features, coverage, something.
Yeah.
So it remains at 1,05,000. But for the customer, the remaining 13,000 goes into buying something else, maybe consumer durables, which have also come down. So that is where the whole focus of this stage of GST reform has happened, because the intention clearly is to incentivize consumption. That seems to be the whole focus.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, let's quickly move on and talk about the overall implications as well. Saurabh Agarwal is also with us. Saurabh, what's your sense? And also just throw light on the fact that for tobacco products and cigarettes, it continues to be tax neutral, right? And to that extent, I think for some time, the compensation cess needs to continue. Once again, I mean, what is the fine print, and would you expect any changes at all when it comes to taxation on cigarettes? Because this national contingency, calamity duty, etc., a couple of other things were also contributing to, say, the cost of one cigarette. So what happens there?
So, before I answer your question in a specific, 5 words which I'll use: monumental step, commendable, unanimous, clear intent, proactive approach, with 2 themes which are overall overarching. First is trust, which is between the state and the center. Second, trust between the industry and the government by not coming up with anti-profiting provision. And the other theme is the India consumption story, which continues, which will ensure that whatever was the impact on account of global tensions on our GDP will get mitigated to a large extent. Now, coming to your second question around the tobacco and tobacco-based products, as of now, the fine print says that for them, the tax rates continue as they were till the time the final compensation on interest and loss with the state exchequers is settled. With respect to the clarity, whether the compensation cess will continue or not, as on date, in the fine print, there's no such clarity available.
Okay, all right, got that point. Gentlemen, also just quick thoughts on overall the revenue foregone, I think, is to the tune of almost 96,000 crore rupees. You can share the exact number. Do you think largely this will be made up by more buoyancy, more consumption of goods and services, or to what extent will this be a loss that simply has to be borne? What do you make of the revenue neutrality aspect? Because right now it's not revenue neutral. Quick point, Mr. Mani.
So the way I look at it, I'm very, very bullish in terms of, I would say much more than the revenue loss being made up. And whatever be the number, and I'm basing this on 2 points. The first point is the earlier time when we had such large rate cuts was in 2019, where a lot of products came down from 28 to 18. And that was, massive at that point of time. Now, if you look at the empirical data, you will see that prior to the cut, GST collections were averaging those times around 70,000 to 80,000 crores per month. And now we have GST collections which average between 1,80,000 and 2 lakh crores, per month. So I think the data indicates, the empirical evidence very clearly indicates that when you reduce rates, the consumption certainly goes up. And the consumption which goes up may not be in respect of the same product category. There may be some premiumization which happens. People could move to other product categories. Because of the income tax related changes a year back, people in any case have more disposable income. And when they have more disposable income and when the economy is growing, there will be an inherent tendency to have more consumption. And what this has done is to fire up that intent like anything. And that is the reason why I would say that GST to me today stands for a genuinely simple tax with a great sense of timing.
Would you concur, Saurabh, very quickly? Mr. Mani is saying that the buoyancy, and he gave a great example as well, how just the tax collection numbers have moved, that the buoyancy in the economy, consumption, will more than make up for the revenue that the states and center are currently losing.
I completely agree with Mani. If you see the tax base has doubled in last 8 years, it has moved from 60,000 registrations to around 1.5 lakh registrations. I'm sure with the tax rates coming down, the number of registrations will further increase and it will lead to increase in taxable base. Further on the tax buoyancy also, if you look at it, has increased from 0.6 to 1 effectively. And if you see in the months of April and May 2025, we went in for the record collections of 2.36 lakh crores and 2.1 lakh crores overall, while the government might be estimating some bit of dip in terms of around 48,000 crores as a net dip on collections. But I foresee that with increase in taxable base, we should be able to meet even that dip.
Okay, all right. So tax buoyancy perhaps will bounce back, will come back as the consumption patterns really get a boost. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Good to have that perspective from you.